So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my amazing co-host, Scouse Andy. How are you, mate? You all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Some new news to talk about. So it's always great to chat and ball with you. So how are you doing, man?
Yeah, all good, mate. Feel full of cold actually. I've been full of cold the last few days. Not been feeling the best. Been a bit under the weather.
You get the JJ McCarthy chills, are you? The thrills.
I think so. Shout out to Brian, who's with us already. Nice to see you in the chat, mate. We'll get into it then, I suppose. Bit of news. First bit of news is got to shout out Dunstable Town Football Club, who we've decided graciously to sponsor them and their podcast, Talk of the Town podcast. So if you're into non-league football and want to listen to a podcast even, our good friend and good buddy Andy Burrows, he does all the post-match interviews with the non-league club down there. And go and give them a shout. It is called Talk of the Town, a podcast. So yeah, if you want to listen to that, go ahead. Another thing really is, I don't know what you do, Scouse, for your grooming routine, but obviously I use a Manscaped, Manscaped 4.0 at the moment I use. What about yourself? Are you into your grooming downstairs? Bit personal, but
Yeah, a bit of a strange question, but yeah, man. I mean, I actually use Manscaped myself, actually. So gotta keep it trim, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
got to.
I expect my missus to be a bit trim. So if I'm not trim, I can't be, and I'm being a bit more of a hypocrite,
Exactly. Well, basically, we want to shout out Manscaped because Manscaped have decided to sponsor the pod. So, yeah, Manscaped has got you covered. If you have any of your underground hair that you want to remove, or if you even want to use it on your beard or anywhere else, you can do that too. So, it's got you covered with the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. If you go online and search manscaped.com and at checkout, you will find a promo code. If you put in the promo code OPSS, which stands for 1 Point Safety Show, you'll get free shipping and delivery. And also as a special there, if you put in our hashtag on it, it's just OPSS, you'll also get 4 months free on their subscription service. So you can subscribe and get things like replacement blades, crop duster, all sorts of washes and things like that. They'll sort you out on that package and you get 4 months free of that package. And at any time you can cancel that. So it's well worth doing. So shout out to manscaped.com who decided to sponsor the pod, which is always nice. Our first sponsor. So all good really. Thank you, Manscaped. Yeah, back onto football news, not talking about shaving one's nether regions. We'll get on to what we've done this week then. So Commanders have strengthened the offensive line unit. It's re-signed Cornelius Lucas to a 1-year deal. Swing tackle, good re-signing that for me. You know what I mean? It gives you a little bit more depth there. More than happy with Cornelius coming back. And the other one, which was a bit left field that we didn't see coming, was a guy called Michael Dieter, who's decided to sign from the Houston Texans. He's a center. He signed on a 1-year deal. Actual starter as a center as well. So bit of a depth piece, offers experience and versatility. Washington lacked solid veteran backups along their interior. Started 12 games at center for the Texans in 2023, also including the playoffs. Dieter also started 35 games overall in his 4 years. He's had stints at left guard as well. We've signed obviously Biadish as well to be the starting center, but this is your backup center, which is a little bit more game time with him than we had last year with like Tyler Larson, for example. So, what are your thoughts on these two signings then, Scouse?
I mean, it doesn't massively move the needle for me personally, but I do think there must be something wrong with Stromberg if they're getting a second center in. I understand maybe he's not ready to start just yet, hence the reason for Biadish originally. But then getting the other guy in Dieter, I'm unsure. Either Stromberg's injury is worse than we think it is, or you just think he's just not ready to be a natural backup yet in the NFL on the O-line, which kind of shocks me because how good he was in college. So it's a little bit, kind of middle for me. It's kind of like some good bits, but then I'm unsure about Stromberg, and I like Stromberg coming out, so I'm a bit like I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, if you got the award in college in the SSC as being the best center
in the
out
SEC.
there. So yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
It's
not
not right.
sure
Yeah.
what's happening there.
Mm.
Bit of a strange one there, to be honest with you. I mean, other news then, we'll get through other news as well. I mean, annual league general meeting took place this year where all the head coaches line up and have their photo taken. Dan Quinn looking like a Don at the back. He just looked so pissed off for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just, he had
Probably
that
stopped
pissed
wearing
off
his
face
cap.
on him. Maybe that's what it was. Also, all the general managers got together. Some of the league owners as well got together. So, really interesting to see what's gone on. But I mean, the media were there. The media tried to do what they do. Try and get what they can out of anybody. But to be honest with you, everything was very tight-lipped around what they're doing. I mean, this show is what we're going to do at 2 this week. What to do at 2. We'll get into that a little bit later on, I suppose, but no hints whatsoever from anyone within inside the organisation that you really want to be listening to. So Adam Peters didn't say a lot at all, didn't give anything away. Dan Quinn the same, didn't give anything away. And then at the same time, we're looking at Josh Harris. He didn't give anything away either, Scouse. So it's all anyone's guess, really. Anyone's guess.
It's cool. It's cool because it's not set in stone. Like over the past few years, you could kind of pick out our first round nearly every year for the past 3 to 4 years. I mean, you could pick it out straight away. The Chase Youngs and. We knew we were going to go. They love Jamin Davis. I mean, I think a few guys picked up on he was going to be our first round draft pick that year. So it's this time around though. There's literally zero. They're giving us zero, and that's interesting. And I do, even though it's annoying because obviously we don't know for sure. We're just pure guessing. But normally you extrapolate from different people, and then you try and work out your own conclusion. At the moment, you can't do it. You just can't do it. It's just pure look at the draw, man. See how it goes. Roll with the flow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Brian's put in the chat here, I'm 100% sure they'll not forfeit the pick. Beyond that, who knows? Absolutely right. We're not doing a Minnesota Vikings, Brian, that's for sure. When you miss your own pick, yeah, that's a certainty. Other things that have gone on, I mean, coming out of that general meeting or the annual league meeting, Josh Harris said, I'm not an F- guy on the NFLPA survey. Obviously, he's also talked about the stadium. Talked about Ted Leonis and the Nationals and the Capitals not taking up the move into Potomac Yards in Virginia. And obviously that has now died a death today. So they are staying in Washington. What does that mean for the Commanders? Well, we don't really know. I mean, at the moment, obviously, the only thing we do know is that the bill to get the land back for RFK has gone through the Senate. Obviously, it has to go through through the House. It has to go through the Senate, and then obviously signed into law by the president before it becomes land for the DC mayoral ownership. And then from there, we can lease that land or buy that land, however it works from them. It's further down the track. You're looking politically probably another year in the making, realistically, before we even get anywhere near that. Shovels in the ground if we're going to go down.
We're not a political podcast, but I mean, I hope Josh is getting in close with Donald Trump because I believe he's going to be president.
Well, so, we don't know who's going to be president moving forward, do we?
Staying for too long, so I think if it's going to be next year, that's when the new president starts.
Yes, it is. Don't wish to comment on that at all, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, Scouse. Yeah. It's going to be very difficult.
He's a businessman. He's a businessman more than
he is, but having a new political field in there in both countries isn't going to do anyone any favors over the autumn, is it? Let's be honest. But it is what it is. It's going to be, incoming outgoings throughout both countries, possibly. Who knows? We don't know. But yeah, let's not get political on the pod anyway. It is what it is, and we're probably not looking at anything.
Just because thinking that if Josh, I mean, obviously Trump's a bit
could get binned, couldn't it?
Again, it could work to our advantage as such for the new stadium, but
yeah. Exactly. Hi, Deluxe. Nice to see you in the chat, mate. Thanks for being with us as well. Appreciate you. Other news, then, really, lots and lots of rule changes that have happened for the season coming. Obviously, we'll go through them individually. We'll try and spend as little time as we can on some. We'll try and spend a little bit more time. The kickoff rule really was the big one that came out of it. I am still a little bit like, what is this about, really? You know what I mean? It's a bit of a strange one. So basically, the owners approved a hybrid kickoff rule on Tuesday. For standard kickoffs, the ball will kick off from the 35-yard line with 10 kick coverage players lined up on the opposing 40, 5 on each side of the field. The return team will have at least 9 blockers lined up in the setup zone between the 30 and 35 yards, with at least 7 of those players touching the 35. There'll also be 2 returners allowed inside the 20. Only the kicker and 2 returners will be allowed to move until the ball hits the ground or is touched by the returner inside the 20. So some kickoff scenarios I'll give you now, Scouse. If the kickoff that hits the landing zone, it must be returned. If the kickoff that hits the landing zone and then goes into the end zone, it must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If it's downed by the receiving team, that would mean the ball is on their own 20-yard line. Kickoffs that go into the end zone and stay in bounds that are downed will be given the receiving team the ball at their own 30-yard line. Kickoffs that go out of the back of the end zone or in the air and bounces would also be a touchback, and that's the 30-yard line as well. Kickoffs that go short of the landing zone will be treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the receiving team would get the ball in their own 40-yard line. And the legislation will also lead to a tweak in the onside rule, the onside kick rules.
Yeah.
So these can now only occur in the fourth quarter, and when a team only when a team trails, and the kicking team must also declare their intentions to kick. So if you're like 7 points down, you go, yeah, well, do you know what? I've got to do an onside kick. You have to tell the other team we're going to do an onside kick, which I just find bonkers. So the whole element of surprise
is gone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, have you watched any of the UFL or the XFL as it was before to see any of the way that this has been lined up? I saw some through the social media.
I'll be honest, not a lot. But everyone says it's a lot more exciting. There's a lot more actual returns, which is good. But then on the flip side, which we've not mentioned yet, about the hip drop tackle that they've outlawed, the player safety, but then they're making guys actually return the ball, which actually, is more impacting on the hip drop tackle. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I understand the excitement for the fans, but you're not reducing player safety. You know what I mean? You're not increasing that. You're actually reducing it by making them actually go full sprint every time on a return. So it kind of messes with my head a little bit why you would do one, but then stop the other. It just doesn't make any sense to me, really. But
I think it makes special teams a lot harder because obviously this is what we've been used to for a long time. Do you now have to have your kicker's got to be a little bit different in the way things are set up?
It's got to be accurate.
There's a new install. There's got to be a new install on how this is all done. So you've got to teach players this is exactly how we're going to do things moving forward. I can see a lot of penalties coming from this initially, especially when you have to have 7 players on the 35, all that sort of stuff. It just seems like there's a lot of rules here that we're just like, well, what does this actually mean? I mean, Jesse, you might think it might be a lot safer. I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose if you've got 9 people running down at you, blistering pace, ready to take you out at any one moment, I get that. I completely understand that. But I suppose it puts more of an onus.
What's happening from any return?
I don't understand that either. It just means
that hitting you at full speed. It's still the same thing as any return. I mean, I understand you might be able to run longer, so you might be able to create a bit more speed, a bit more force, maybe, if you're the gunner or whatever. I get that. But it's kind of like, surely if you're making more people actually return every single ball, then there's going to be more chance of injury because there's more chance of high impact collisions. Surely?
Possibly, but you don't have to return every ball because you can down it inside the end zone. There's lots of different ways to work it out. I think we're just going to have to wait and see on this. Maybe in 2 years' time, we'll look at this and go, what were we even thinking about? And it'll just be the norm. But right now, it seems a little bit bizarre to change it completely.
Until I see it and see it gaming out for a while. Well, I don't really know massively about it, but this seems a bit weird.
You mentioned it just before the hip drop tackle. So let's get into that then. So NFL clubs have voted unanimously to remove the hip drop tackle from the game. A hip drop tackle occurs when a defender wraps up the ball carried and rotate or swivels his hips, unweighting himself and dropping onto the ball carrier's legs during the tackle. So it doesn't outlaw tackles from behind. You can tackle from behind and hang on, almost in a rugby style, as if you imagine you're tackling from
round to get him on the floor, basically.
Yeah, so if you're tackling below the knees or you're tackling below the hips, onto the legs, totally fine, no problem at all with that. But you can't do that twisting motion, and that's the problem.
I just find it so difficult as a defender. I mean, if a guy's got like a couple of yards on you and you're trying to cut the angle off, and you can actually make the tackle because you can get your hands on him. How do you stop yourself? Especially like looking at tight ends, for example. These guys are like a mismatch all the time. They're 6'5", 250 pounds against a 200-pound linebacker, for example, or even a safety coming in, and it's like, how does that happen? Do you know what I mean? Like how does that not kind of stop yourself from actually doing that? Because end of the day, you're going to try and stop the guy at any means necessary. Do you know what I mean? So I don't understand how that's not how you can do it fairly from the defensive side of the game.
We are also joined today on the pod live by our good buddy from across the states in Virginia. It's Jesse Martin from the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. How are you, mate? All right?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Yeah, all good. We're just talking about the hip drop tackle here.
The hip drop.
Yes, the hip drop tackle. Obviously being outlawed. We were just saying there, if you do it from behind and you're hanging on to the player, or you're almost rugby tackling them from the middle of the top of the leg into the hip area, you're absolutely fine. It's just that twisting motion they're trying to outlaw at the moment. I think I read it somewhere it was 281 incidents last year that this happened.
Like one per game almost. Yeah.
Yeah. But on that, they're saying that hopefully they're not going to stop the game. They're just going to fine people as they would do for a lowering the helmet type call.
Like
you'll get your FedEx packet. You'll get your FedEx package in the locker. Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to be.
And I understand that. And when you're watching this tackle live, it's a mean looking tackle, man. The offensive player legs do more times than not get kind of twisted up, and then that whole body weight when they're swiveling their hips around and like kind of coming under them, their offensive legs could get all twisted up. I mean, that's how I think Tony Pollard broke his leg on one of those tackles. I think Mark Andrews
wasn't he, was the big one,
Mark Andrews tore his. So the hip drop tackle is not totally being banned. It's just that one with that twist, with that swivel, I guess they're calling it, and I think it's understandable.
I mean, I get it. I get why it's understandable and why it's kind of a safety precaution for players. But I'm just thinking about the scenario from the defense trying to actually make that tackle without doing that. When you are the slimmer guy, you're coming in from an angle where you're trying to close him down because the guy's got a few yards on you. And you do whatever it takes to get the guy to the floor. And sometimes you're not doing it on purpose to swivel. You're just bringing your weight to take his legs down. Do you know what I mean? So I just find that
it's going to be a conscious effort to not do that. But if you look at it, Scott just put out the numbers. Averages of about one time it happens per game in the NFL. And out of all the tackles, out of all the plays, out of the game, that's really not that much, in kind of the grand scheme of things. So, your defensive backs are going to have to be careful, especially like you said, Scouts, the smaller ones that don't have as much body weight as the big running backs or the big tight ends. And that's what you're seeing it on, is the tight ends and the running backs that are getting the swivel. They're just going to have to kind of go down and maybe slide down to their legs and try to trip them up instead of hanging their whole entire, body weight and kind of swinging their selves around.
Shout out to Burrows. We've got UK royalty in the chat as always. I hope you're well, mate. I know your voice is starting to come back now, but breaking news while we're on the pod. Don't know if we've heard this. Wide receiver Alamid Zacharidis, I think is how you pronounce it, from the Raiders, has signed a 1-year deal with the Washington Commanders. So,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Zacharidis. I don't know his stats. Not sure what he's actually like as an individual wide receiver. Yeah, exactly. Who? I literally just Googled it. And I was like,
fine
okay.
replacement for Curtis Samuel, let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So according to Tom Pelissero, Commanders have agreed to terms with Olamide Zacchaeus, I think is how you pronounce it. He's 26. He went undrafted out of Virginia back in 2019. Caught on with the
What's his
Falcons
measurables?
making... I'm having a read now. Making 53-man roster, played out the 2022 season, appeared all 17. Oh, hang on. 2023, he played for the Eagles, played all 17 games, 10 receptions.
I remember him
for
at the Eagles. Yeah.
164 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Eagles. And I think he's
So
been
he's
with
had
the
some playing
Ravens
time.
recently. Yeah,
You got his height. You got his height on there. Is he a big receiver? I can't remember. I do remember seeing that name on the back of an Eagles uniform, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now. This is actually off the Eagles website, so bear with me while I have a look at this. It's nice to get a bit of breaking news while you're hearing it, but there you go. No, I'm not getting much from this at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, we'll find out at some point.
Very little, but yeah, it is what it is. Looks like a depth signing. I don't think he's there to compete, but
he's small, man. He's 5.
Is he small?
Special teams,
5'8".
Yeah, he's 5'8". Yeah,
maybe.
Look,
maybe. Well done, you.
If you guys don't mind for a second, kind of want to get back on the new kickoff. I absolutely,
of course.
I absolutely love this. I watch a lot of XFL here. You know, I'm a big DC fan. The Defenders, they do this, okay, and it is an actual play. You know, it's not just your boring old kickoff. You know, you're not going to be in the kitchen grabbing another drink while the kickoff's coming.
Cool.
It slows it down a little bit. Both the receiving and the kicking team are 5 yards apart, and they cannot move until the ball. Until the player catches the ball, or if the ball hits the ground in between the 20-yard line and the goal line, they cannot move. And so it slows it down, and then you have certain areas. So you have to scheme this play up now, okay? And it's almost like a running play. Almost, except you're spread out just a little bit more. It's a lot more exciting. There's different options on the kicking team. If they choose to let it go, they could either be penalized and have to start at the 20, or if the ball kicks out the end zone, it will start at the 35-yard line. So there's actual planning that actually goes into this play now, the kickoff now, where you actually got to think about it and scheme up the play. And the reason why I say it's making it safer is because they're not running the ball's kicked and they're not running full speed. Okay. It's not like that anymore.
Stop before the ball was kicked. Do you know what I mean? I thought they could run like they could before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they have to wait till the ball is in play before they can go off.
Mm.
Oh, nice. Okay, that makes it a lot more sensible now.
And the kicker is lined up like 20 yards behind the receiving team, and also the defensive special teams or the kicking team. So the kicker is back here, and then you got I think they're lined up on like the 40 and 50 yard line, or 40 and 45 yard line, or something like that.
It says 35. It says 35.
35.
Yeah.
Okay, so and they're only
40. Yeah,
they're only 5 yards apart. So once that ball's caught, then they can move, and that's when you get your blocking. So it's kind of like a running play almost, man.
Nice.
I think it's gonna be right. And if you go, you can look on YouTube and watch the XFL do it. And I remember watching the game last year. I was like, holy crap, man! The NFL has to pick this up. It's awesome.
Well, the XFL, actually, shout out to the XFL, or whatever it's called now, the USFL. I don't know what the two leagues have merged.
They're combining.
So,
yeah.
It starts this weekend. So DC Defenders, if you want to watch them again, and the Snake Beer, they are 5 p.m. UK time on Saturday. So it might be something to watch.
What stadium do they
there.
play in, Jesse?
Audi
I'm sorry,
Field
what was
they're
that?
playing. Yeah,
What
they play in
stadium do
Audi
they
Field.
play in, the
Scouts.
DC Defenders?
Yeah, they play at Audi Field.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a smaller stadium, and who knows? We could be playing there for 1 year. I mean, it only holds, I think, like 23,000 people.
Yeah,
because they do the DC United plays there as well too. Our MLS team, local MLS team.
Yep.
Been
So
there a
we'll
couple
get on to
times. It's a really cool stadium. It's a really cool small stadium.
We'll get on to pro days then, I suppose, which is why everyone's here to listen to us. So shout out to everyone in the chat. Rod, Andy, Brian's still in. Deluxe is still in as well. Like what you done there. I knew you'd do that, Jesse. I knew you'd do that. For all those who are listening in, Jesse Martin just held up a piece of paper with JJ in big letters. Basically, if you don't know, Scouts is not the biggest JJ McCarthy fan. Let's put it that way. So we attended JJ McCarthy's pro day on Tuesday in Michigan. We also attended Jaden Daniels' pro day at LSU, and we attended Drake May's pro day at UNC. Now, for everybody out there, this is not just us attending these top 3 quarterbacks and going, we're just looking at the quarterbacks, that's it. We're clearly looking at everybody else who is on display as well, who's coming in to the NFL. You like the likes of Malik Neighbors, but we all realistically know why. Adam Peters, Josh Harris, everybody else are all, Dan Quinn, etc., are all at these pro days. Do I take much stock in any of these pro days? Nah, not really. I mean, I really don't put much stock in the pro days, to be honest with you. Jesse, you actually put a question in here, and we can probably answer it right now. You said Daniels had a decent pro day and came in at 210, but knowing that he bulked up and had a bunch of water weight, which was evident, what is his true weight? Scouse, I'll let you start with that one.
I mean, I think his true weight is 200 pounds even. I think that's what it actually is. I don't think 210. I say he just put that on. He just said water weight. That's the reason why he didn't do any other 40 times, for example. Even though he's there talking the big game, saying I could run faster than Neighbors. Well, good. Then go out and do it. Then no. Why? Because he's 10 pounds overweight for what his frame is, and that's the reason why he didn't do it. Because he'd be slower. So. I mean, for me, he's definitely a flat 200. So he's 6'3.5", something like that, and he's going to be, and his playing weight's going to be 200 pounds dead on. I think.
I think you're about right. I think 200 pounds is thereabouts. I mean, does that worry you at all, being that that small?
I mean, yes and no. I think the answer is to that because I always like my quarterback to be able to take the hits and. The NFL's different level to college, and we've seen Daniels take hits and he's took them okay, and some look like sometimes he's been hit like he's been like a Madden hit stick, you know what I mean? Sometimes he's been hit, it looks like that sometimes as well, which scares you half to death. I mean, he's never been injured, so you can't go, well, he can't take the hits, but it's a different level when you take it on the NFL, boys. With everybody's 300 plus pounds, you can hit you, that's the only thing that worries me about his frame. It's not about his skill set. His skill set's excellent. I like what he's got to offer. It's just that can he take it at 17, 18, 19 game season without getting hurt by these boys? It's a different league, man.
Yeah, Jesse, you were exactly the same. You said the same thing, and you said it on your show as well. So if you haven't watched that with John, Keith, Jesse, and myself, it's the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. You can find it on Twitter, which is at Jesse's24. You can find it in Jesse's as well, and they have their own Twitter handle too. But you're right. You've mentioned this for a while. You and Scouse, this is something you two actually agree on. Is that you are worried about Jaden Daniels' frame, I believe, unless your opinions change.
Yeah, no, it hasn't changed. I mean, my opinion on Jaden Daniels overall has changed. I'm not like one of those people that are just stuck on one person and shit on everything else. My opinion. I love his skill set. I'm with Scouse on that, man. He has a lot of skills and a lot to offer, but his small frame scares the living crap out of me. The thing about it, he did not weigh in at the combine. Okay, red flag number one. He comes in let's be honest. We've seen how he runs. He didn't need to run the 40. Okay, we know he's fast. We absolutely know that he has a very good running skill set, and that's something that will do him well in the NFL. But, and this is a big old hairy butt right here, the college game is different than the NFL game. They're bigger, they're stronger, and they're freaking faster in the NFL. You know, watching JJ, throw the ball, he's got such a compact, quick release that will do him so well in the NFL. He's got the best release in this whole entire class, and it's not close, to be honest with you. But he took his shirt and kind of wiped his face. It brought his shirt up and wiped his face a little bit, and you could see the bloating in his stomach from drinking all that water before he weighed in. And I'm thinking he's got to be in between the 200, 205. Like no heavier than 205. And then when these players, they go into, training camp, they always lose some weight in training camp. It is hot.
Oh,
okay.
Of course
they're
working
out
do that
multiple times a day. So hopefully our nutritionist can get him on the regimen. Some people just can't gain that weight,
Yeah.
But you got us, 35 plus 40 years old, 40 plus year old like myself that freaking have to work his ass off just to lose 5 freaking pounds. So gaining weight's not a problem for us. You know what I mean? But there's some people that
I look at a pie, Jesse, and put on half a stone. So yeah,
man. Seriously, you ain't telling that to nobody. So it is a little worrisome, and then this hits that you've seen him take in college where he's not protecting himself, man. That's got to change because he won't last. He's been relatively healthy. He only got knocked out one game. It was like for a quarter and a half against Alabama. Came back the next week for a concussion. But again, the NFL is a different game. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah, so jumping off the back of that, then Rod Morrison, who's in the chat with us at the moment, shout out to Rod. He's always on giving us questions, which is great. He said, no surprises that JD's pro day went well, but with the fact that he weighed in at 210, does this change the way you feel about his durability? Also, JJ could be the new Zach Wilson. I mean, we'll get on to JJ in a minute, but we've definitely agree with you, Rod. You know what I mean? We agree with you in saying that 210.
Not about JJ.
That's the only question mark about Daniels, man. It is could he handle a full season of being hit?
Correct.
Because as you say, these guys, I can take the hits from these big lads. No, these guys are, as you say, the bigger, the faster, the stronger, and these guys are willing to take his head off. Do you know what I mean? So, get themselves, kicked out the game. They're willing to do that to take our quarterback out. It's a different game, and he's got to be able to protect himself. That's the only problem. Because Jesse mentioned it before. His release is nice. He's got a lot. His footwork's really nice. Obviously we know he's fast. He can clean the pocket. He can take it to the house from 50 yards away. He's got all the skills you'd want in the quarterback. It's just that one thing. And mentally, he's actually quite good as well. And he's willing to take a hit in the pocket, which is what I do like for my quarterback at times as well. Not to be obviously hurt, but show you got the balls to stand in there and deliver that ball. You know what I mean?
He's got to show us he can protect himself, and he hasn't shown that yet.
That's the big one. Yeah, that one. Protect himself. Can he handle himself for full 18, 19 games? Or whatever
here's another one then. So on that, obviously Rod again has said that DQ has said that they're just starting the draft board this weekend, but he's saying surely JD must be in the box seat at 2. Now the title for the show is What to Do at 2. We'll go around the room. We'll start with you, Scouse. What are you doing at number 2 overall? We all think we're taking a quarterback. Oh my word!
Can you take Jesse off this list here? Can you just mute him for a minute?
Just mute him. Nah, it's all good. It's all good.
It's
Have you changed? Have you changed your opinion?
That's the one I really want, but I know he's probably going to be there.
Okay.
But if Caleb's not there, I'm like 60-40 on May at the moment. May ahead of Daniels, and then stay away from JJ, man. Honest to God. I mean, if we trade down to like 18 or something and pick JJ, okay, I can live with that. But if we're staying up there for that high level, man, I don't want that, man. I can't deal. It's a massive reach, man. It's a massive reach.
So we obviously, when I say we, I mean the Royal We, the Commanders went to the pro day, had a meeting with JJ McCarthy prior to his pro day starting. Also took him out to dinner, which used to be a thing which Dan Snyder did. We can say his name, and that meant that you were signing. But that obviously is not the case. They are doing their due diligence on all of these quarterbacks. JJ McCarthy's exactly. JJ McCarthy's pro day went well. I mean, I've heard it all over this. I've heard it.
Not to us.
I've heard it on both ways. And Scott G, who you just mentioned there in the chat and put his comment up, he said, piggybacking off Jesse's question, how do you grade pro days? He said, I've heard it being good, decent. It wasn't good. It all depends who you ask. To me, the most important thing, and likely won't be seen, is the conversations. I agree with you. I think for me, I don't put much stock in pro days, because you can manipulate a pro day how you want a pro day to go. You can show the best throws. Everyone went wild, as Rod said last year, when we saw Zach Wilson or when Zach Wilson came out throwing the long shot, the deep bomb. Everyone's, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever seen since sliced bread. How did that work out?
That's what got him drafted up there. Of course, his pro day. And these guys, they learn from their mistakes. Just because you have a good pro day doesn't mean you're a good quarterback. It's everybody, like you said, it's the intangibles. It's how they, act with their teammates. It's a big the leadership aspect. I think is the most important. Out of a pro day, it's not the throws, man. Yeah, you want to hit good throws. You want to show you got the an NFL arm strength, but you also want to show them how good of a leader you are as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shout out to Freddie. Hot take, Freddie.
Yep.
He said we ain't trading. He said we ain't trading down that far. Plus, there's no way JJ's there.
I'm not interested in JJ at all. I mean, I don't want him anywhere near my team. Like, you can go anywhere else. Go to the Giants, whoever. Go away. I don't care. He can be in our division because he's bang average. For me, it's kind of like with the pro days, as you mentioned. I agree. You can only take so much out of it, and it is manipulated in a way where it's to try to make the guys look as good as they can. They've got their own receivers. It's on their own field that they used to throwing every day on. All the environment's exactly what they're used to. So that's why. You got to take it with a pinch of salt. But as I say, it's definitely what Jesse mentioned. It's about, or you mentioned about those conversations. Can you be a leader? How you interact with people, not just when you during a play, but in between plays. Everything else that goes along with it. It's all the little things that you can't really see on tape.
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for when you.
I mean, for me, we genuinely we don't have a clue. AP, Rod's put another question in here saying AP says he won't be bringing it. We'll be bringing in another 2 quarterbacks, and we're not trading John Allen. And he's also said trust the process. He's also said it's not necessarily important that we draft the QB and that he doesn't need to be starting immediately. It's about development. So what are your thoughts on that then? I mean, I'll start with you, Jesse, on this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, regardless of what happens on draft night, we have to trust this process, I mean, what else are we going to do? Everything is new in this franchise, and there was a lot of work to do. So no matter if it's Jaden Daniels, no matter if it's Drake May, no matter if it's Penix or God forbid, Scouse, JJ McCarthy. Whatever happens is we have to trust this because it's a new day in this franchise, and we have been sucked down to the bottom dregs of what Dan Snyder has done to us. We got to now that actual people that want to build this team and want to do it the right way, we got to give them a chance to do it. I
agree with you. I just think it's a bit rich for me taking JJ at 2. That's the only problem. And I think sometimes it's just the hype of the quarterback situation. Let's have a think about it. Not last year, year before. We were talking who was it that was right up there? It was I'll go to San Francisco because that's kind of the play that we were looking at with Adam Peters at the time and John Lynch over at the 49ers there. For months and months and months, it was Trey Lance. Next thing you know, there was a couple of weeks before the draft, it was they're going to take Mac Jones. Then 2 weeks before the draft starts, it was back to they might take Fields, but they might take they're going to take the one who went. What's his name now? I just said it, Trey Lance. And then eventually it's Actually, yeah, we are going to take Trey Lance and we are going to go that way. Is it bluff, double bluff, double bluff? Because this fan base is going absolutely crazy on social media. You either have your I'm an absolute Drake May guy or I'm a Jaden Daniels guy. You can't be both. Or you have some in the middle that are saying, hey, I'm going to be a JJ McCarthy fan, or I'm going to let's trade back and take Bo Nix. Let's take Penix. I mean, looking at Penix now, he run a 4.46 today. In his 40 at his pro day.
Fair, I'm not going.
Yeah, but that's Michael Nonies, and he's also got he's got a vertical jump on his vertical jump here. I'm just literally watching it as we speak. 36.5 was his vertical jump. I mean, this is better than wide receivers. You've got a guy out here shout out at the moment to Lewis Rees-Zammit, who's just signed for the Kansas City Chiefs, ex-Wales international rugby winger, played for Gloucester as well. So Martin Wargie is your boy. Egan and Alid is your boy because he's Welsh. And also at the same time, he played for the as the British and Irish Lions, which is the highest honour you can get in rugby. He's been on that international player pathway. He's done his 10 weeks training camp over there to see how he gets on. And he signed for the Chiefs today. I mean, great. You signed for the Chiefs. Doesn't mean you're going to make the 53, but you're definitely on that 90-man roster. So all this media hype and shit about, he's going to get 900 grand. He's getting this. Look, listen, man, anyone could sign a deal. Anyone could sign a deal, but they can cut you just as quick like that. I hope he makes a 53. If he makes a practice squad, great. Fair play to him. He's got to learn the game. Same as everybody else.
It's funny that you mentioned that Scott, the media, they always hype up these guys. They're hyping. They hype up the Trey Lance and the Mac Jones last year. And this year they hyped up first the Drake May. Actually, he's been hyped up for the past 2 years. Obviously Caleb Williams has the past 2 years, it was always known he was going to go number 1 overall. And that right now it's Jaden Daniels, and McCarthy really wasn't known to, the media didn't hype them up because there was nothing really sexy about McCarthy. But I mean, I mentioned it 2 months ago. You got to watch out for this McCarthy kid, because I'm hearing, not from any sources or anything like that, but I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of NFL stuff, and when I hear like a Tom Pelissero say, "Hey, man, the NFL scouts and inner workings of the NFL, they really like this kid JJ McCarthy," that perks my ears up. This is way down the road. But the media didn't buy onto that. Okay, the media is not always thinking like the NFL is thinking. They're thinking for what's going to get them the most views, the most ratings, and stuff like that. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. I mean,
so who knows exactly? Maybe the NFL really, really likes JJ McCarthy. Maybe he's, I see him the third quarterback taken off the board, whether that's in front of May or whether that's in front of JJ.
Everyone goes on about him being a winner, but the thing is, I mean, wasn't Tebow?
Yes,
but then there's a whole bunch of things. It's not just about winning, Scouts. It's about the system. It's about how he, what a leader he is. JJ is the absolute best at reading defenses. I mean, it's not close. He's smart as a whip, and the way he goes through his progressions, and that's what it takes to go play at the next level is how you read defenses, so you got to take all that stuff together.
We've got a couple in the chat here. So Deluxe is saying it's rich at 2 because the media and fans. Rodgers and Lamar went late. Mahomes went middle of the round. Does anyone really know? You're absolutely right. I mean, for me, I honestly think there's 5. I think there's 5 quarterbacks in this draft who are going to have very good careers. Very good careers. I mean, Bo Nix, I'm not sure on. I mean, I'll go as far as Penix. I would say he's probably going to have a decent career. And that's kind of where we are. I honestly think you can't go. I'm not saying it's a no miss, because everything's a miss. We've heard this before. How many times have we heard, oh my God, Marcus Mariota is the best thing since it's amazing. Mitchell Trubisky's this next generational talent. Who else have we had? We had shitloads of players like that come out, and they're just
Max
absolute
Jones.
busts.
I mean, Trey
Max
Lance.
Jones, there you go.
Know?
Trey Lance, exactly. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't put it together. I've got to be honest. Not yet. You know what I mean?
Hell has
indeed frozen over.
Frozen over.
Because Scott G is agreeing with Jesse by saying it hurts because Jesse's dropping the knowledge. Yeah. Well, thinking about dropping the knowledge, we'll go back to Scouse, I suppose, and we'll follow one up. We'll come up. We're talking about quarterbacks. We'll use Deluxe's question that he put into us, and that is, what is better for Washington? Is it a higher ceiling or a higher floor when you pick at 2? Is there a big difference between the ceilings and floors of JJ, JD, and May? I mean, that's a tough question, Scouse. So I'll let you try and go through the explanations of that. I'll do my own, and then we'll come to Jesse to answer it as well. But really good question that from Deluxe.
Yeah, I mean, for us at 2, when you're looking at such a high draft pick, you're wanting a guy who's got the ceiling that's off the charts. You want to see that ultra-star, superstar guy coming in, not just a guy who's solid. I know it sounds stupid because obviously any QB can bust. You know, Ryan Leaf went number 2 and he was god-awful. Do you know what I mean? So these things happen. But it's all about looking at these kind of, for me, it's all about kind of getting one with the highest ceiling, but they also are the biggest risk of bust as well, aren't they? Because they're never the lowest floors. So, for example, you might be looking at JJ's probably got the best floor.
Yeah, I agree.
He's solid. He's solid. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. If, as I said before, he doesn't move the needle on how good he is with the pass or how he's surgical with his throws. Sometimes he throws that, but it's not all the time, and it's because he's got great protection. So for me, it's kind of like it's hard to kind of compare them, all of them. I mean, with May, for example, he's got a high ceiling, but he's also got a low floor because he's only played one good season, and the other season was pretty bang average. So, but again, you're looking at, I say, we're always looking at guys' traits and their builds and everything else as well. It isn't just about like winning on the field, and that's what like McCarthy's got that on everybody. You know, he's only lost once in 2 years. It's a fantastic record. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to win.
Those type of things. I like that. I like that in a quarterback. But what you've got to see is, what I want to see is can a guy take a bad team on his shoulders and win? And that's what I've not seen from JJ, and that's what scares me about him. You know, when NFL teams are picking at like 2, 3, 4 in the draft, 5 in the draft, it's because we're dog shit. We're dog shit teams. Davey's walking in there with one of the best college teams going. He's got the greatest surrounding cast, and he looks legit. Brilliant. Okay, fair play. You win loads of games. Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. Now, can he take a bad team like us and make us better? And that's what I'm on about. You know what I mean? And I don't see that in him. Where I've seen that with Williams trying to do that with a bad team. May's trying to do that with a bad team. You've seen these guys do it. And that's the reason why I like them guys more than, say, a JJ. But again, high ceilings, low floors. I mean, they're all pretty similar, I think. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And that's why I don't
differentiate between all 3 of them guys. You mentioned 4 guys there.
That's why, Scouse, I think you're right in what you're saying. I think I kind of don't care who they pick. And this is a really strange thing to say it too. I just want to win. I hope it has to be a quarterback that's set up for the system and that can come in and do a job right away. I think we have to start the new QB, irrespective of whether you want to bench them for a year and you want to do that modeling on the Alex Smith, Pat Mahomes type, scenario. We're just not in a situation to do that at the moment. I mean, Scott G is
offensive line play, mate.
I know. They haven't had USC hasn't had a defense. I mean, they've got a good offense, but their defense was absolutely freaking horrid.
I agree with Scott. Scott in a way. He's saying
LSU too.
Yeah, true. LSU's a good school, but what he's saying there is we shouldn't punish a QB because he was on a good team. Yeah, I agree with that. You shouldn't be punishing him for that. But at the end of the day, you got to that school because you are a good recruit.
I'm not punishing him for being on a good team. I'm punishing him as in, like, I've not seen that he can take a team on his back and win a game. That's the only thing. That's what puts me off. That's the reason why he gets knocked down by a little bit by myself. Not because I hate JJ McCarthy. I mean, I don't want him for us personally, but I want to see our guys be able to do that in college at least a couple of times to see that he can do it, because we're going to need him to do it for us when he starts in the NFL first year. No?
Brian in the chat has nailed it for me here, and he's obviously kindred spirits here, Brian. You know how it is. He said, I just want them to have a good plan for the QB and to help them be successful. Absolutely agree. I think having the coaching staff and the setup that we have behind the scenes, this is it. I mean, this is what is making me feel. I'm feeling more relaxed about the draft. I'm feeling more relaxed about the offseason and about what we've done in the offseason, purely and simply because if we had got someone like Ben Johnson, who we all thought it was going to be as the head coach, there is absolutely, in my mind, no way we would assemble this coaching staff the way we've assembled this coaching staff. It just would not have happened. Would we have got Adam Peters? Most likely. But look at what Dan Quinn has done outside of here and how much he's liked, how much people play for him, how much coaching staffs want to come in. I mean, we've got four ex-head coaches? You know, taking roles that we just
team of coaches
don't need. Anthony Lynn, the running game coordinator, the running backs that are coming in. You've got the experience of Austin Eckler. You've got, you know, who can make them learn. That's key. And then you've also got Brian Robinson.
Quinn has built the coaching staff to develop a young quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
You know, I mean, Anthony Lynn, you know, helped develop Justin Herbert. You got Cliff Kingsbury. He's had his hands on many, many good quarterbacks coming out through college, and also with Kyler Murray. And but to go back on, you know, with the question about the ceiling and floors, you know, it's tough. You're at 2, so you got to take a shot, man. You got to swing for the fences at 2, and that's why I feel, and it's tough because. Drake May has the highest ceiling out of all the quarterbacks, and that's including Caleb Williams. People might think I'm crazy about that, but he's also got a very, very low floor, and it's going to take him time to get him there. You know, it'd probably be best to sit him for at least a half a season. You know, JJ is the type of quarterback that you want everything set around him already, and he can hit the ground running as soon as he gets there. Like I think the Vikings would be a perfect team for JJ McCarthy. They got a good, they got a good offense, a semi good defense. They got players around him. They got good running backs. They got a good offensive line. I think JJ would hit the ground running with that team. You know, I think, you know, if we drafted
a bit like Kirk as well.
If we drafted May, man, I would want him to sit a little bit because he does have to work on things. But the things that his issues are easily correctable with experience, you know. Then it comes to Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels is boom or bust. Like, I think he has a very, very good boom potential. But, you know, there's things there that, you know, injuries could play a factor in this whole thing. I mean, we saw it, and I'm not comparing Jayden Daniels to RG3, but okay, I'm comparing Jayden Daniels to RG3 a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
RG3's career got ruined by an injury. You know, running quarterbacks.
They get hurt.
Listen, look, there's that chance, man. There definitely is that. Look, there's a chance for everybody to get injured. I get that. I understand that. But I mean, just look at when Haloti Ngata tackled RG3 on that run. RG3 was not protecting himself whatsoever.
Correct.
You know, you look at some of Jayden Daniels' hits, those bad ones. He doesn't protect himself ever.
It's like he's been hit.
God, that kid has the best deep ball I've seen, man. I think he's got a really high ceiling as well too. I'm not sure where his floor is at. I think Jayden Daniels can be pro ready. I don't think he's as pro ready as JJ McCarthy is, but I think he can start right away and still do well as long as he can protect himself. I hope that answered the guy's question.
Yeah, it's Arch Deluxe's got that was a cracking question. I don't really have anything to follow up on there, to be honest, because I'm quite comfortable where we are. Do you know what I mean? I'm really quite comfortable where we are.
I mean, we shouldn't miss that too with the amount of good.
No, that's what I mean.
Not with
this.
We shouldn't miss if we
just
do
manage. Please hope. You're right, Scouts, but please let's just hope we get it done. And then that in my fandom, this is probably the first time that I'm going to sit back and go, wow, we've actually got a quarterback. Yeah, I don't have to worry about that anymore because it's the never-ending quarterback cycle every offseason. Who are we going to sign? How's it going to go? Who are we going to get in? I thought, oh, yeah. I mean, some other rule changes that we didn't really cover before. There are only a few to mention here. The third challenge. So now allowing a third challenge following one successful coach's challenge. And obviously before this rule came into effect, they had to have both challenges had to be successful to warrant a third. Now they're saying, well, it's okay if you're successful on one, you get that one back. You still get the opportunity to go again. I think it's a good rule. I don't think it's changed massively. Also, moved
you get an extra challenge. You get an extra challenge if you
if you're correct. And at the end of the day, Jesse and Scouse, you're both you're there, you're nodding away, and it's like, well, they're trying to correct something that's been wronged by the referees. Surely that's a good thing.
Yeah. And as you say, and I should know anyway. If you get it wrong, you lose a timeout as punishment.
Correct.
Well, you've got 3 per half, so technically, really, you could give them 6 in the whole match if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that wouldn't make much of a difference. As in, I mean, it wouldn't be like.
I don't know. I think Rivera would fuck it up somehow.
yeah, you know it. Throw it in challenge.
Find some way to fuck it up.
First and then go timeout after the clock's expired. That's what they do. Yeah.
So, Two more ones that were passed. There was about 14 different rule changes that went to the table, but these 2 were passed. The trade deadline's been moved to the Tuesday after Week 9 games. Yeah, not really bothered about that at all, but that's just something to note. And then the emergency quarterback rule. So this has changed. So you had to be on the 53-man roster to be the emergency quarterback. Now the NFL's amended that, and the explanation is it now goes to practice squads. As well, and there is an unlimited amount of times that you can be activated as the emergency quarterback on game days, and it does not count towards how many people you can get suited up. So at the moment, it's 48 get suited up on the day. Now it's going to be 49 with that emergency quarterback. They just don't count towards it at all. So again, a good thing in my opinion. You've changed the game. You've included it on practice squads.
From the Niners game, wasn't it, a couple of years back? Where,
with the Brock Purdy's UCL, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Johnson got knocked out straight away. Yeah,
absolutely.
Eagles play it dirty as they always do, you know. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good rule.
John, do you know what? I really don't know. John Tayman, shout out to John in the chat with us today. He's also a co-host on the Bleeding Burgundy. He said, I'd like to hear one good reason why they don't suit all 53. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I
really don't know.
It's the competition aspect of it, because in case you have it's about the players. If you have high profile players that are injured, it's something to do with the competition factor of it, and that's why. I've read the reasoning before. I know I didn't explain it well enough, but it has to do, say, some of your good players. If you have like multiple good players out, it would be unfair for the other team, that does have healthy players to be able to suit up. I don't know. It just has to do. It's a competition type of thing. Fairness. That's fairness.
Yeah,
something to do with fairness.
People need to stop talking here, because you and Scott G are agreeing again and again.
What's going on, boys?
Scary.
We're always at each other's throats. What's going on here?
You were. It's getting scary.
Cause some scandal. What we get here, we get Scott G being best mates with you. What's that about?
The last rule change that I wanted to cover was you can now put 2 players on IR before the final roster cuts, and then no longer on IR for the full season. So like we did with Braden Daniels last year, we made up a fake injury and said, oh, sorry, you're not really good enough, but we'll put you on season-ending IR, and that's you done for the entire season. Now you can carry 2 people on IR and almost redshirt them for that season if you want. for want of a better term.
Yeah. I mean, you can still put you can still designate him for season ending, but now you can designate. If one of our players gets hurt, in like the second preseason game, and he's going to be out like 3 months, they can come back instead of being out all year long. Breaks an arm or something.
I've never understood that. I mean, like in English football, if a guy gets injured, he gets injured. He's out for 3 months. He's out for 3 months. No, but he can come back once he's ready. I don't understand the IR situation with that. I mean, I don't know why. If to do it before the season starts, they're done for the year. I mean, I just don't. I think it's a bit of a shit rule, really.
That's it for.
That's
it, boys, for questions and other bits. Apart from one, which we'll come back to at the very end, but. Arch Deluxe has put one more question now. I think we need to probably discuss this. I think it's a good question to get us away from quarterback talk for the minute and pro days and everything else that's happened. And he said, can you rank the offseason of the 4 NFC East teams? Now, I'll go through the signings and I'll go through a few bits and bobs here. I wrote them all down for my sins. So Philly have signed Will Grier, quarterback from the Chargers. Kenny Pickett, quarterback from the Steelers. They traded for him. Devin White, linebacker, to a $7.5 million deal. CJ Gardner-Johnson's back in Philly, 3-year deal, $33 million from the linebackers, from the Lions even. Saquon Barkley, we all know that one happened. 3 years, $36 million, but it could be up to $47. Bryce Huff on a 3-year deal, $51 million. Devontae Parker, wide receiver. They also re-signed Brandon Graham, and they signed Matt Hennessy, guard from Atlanta, who has 22 starts. So Philly, I think they've strengthened. I think they've absolutely strengthened well, and I think they've done a very good job there. We'll come back onto the others. I mean, we'll go on to the Giants now. Giants is Brian Burns, linebacker, who they traded for, 5-year, $150 million deal. Drew Lock, quarterback from the Steelers. Devin Singletary, running back from Texas, Houston. He got $16.5 mil, $19.5 mil with incentives. Jack Stoll, a tight end from Eagles. Chris Manhertz, tight end from Denver. Aaron Stinney, guard from Tampa Bay. Austin Scholterman, guard from Vikings. Nick McLeod, cornerback. Isaiah McKenzie, wide receiver from the Colts. Jalen Mills, safety from the Pats. And then they've signed John Runyon as well, guard from Green Bay. A lot of depth signings there.
Yeah, shall we discuss kind of like each team, and then
we can do that. We can do that. Yeah,
we'll do that. You get lost in just hearing the names. You know what I mean?
The names, yeah, I get you. No worries, mate. So we'll go with Philly first then. What do you think of Philly, Scouse?
I think Philly have done a good job. They always seem to do well. Roseman seems to know how to build a roster. I do think, though, with the Gardner-Johnson one, I mean, he was great for them the year before last. But then he moved on to the Lions for 1-year deal, but he got hurt, like a serious injury. I don't know if it was an Achilles or an ACL, I can't remember, but he was done for the year quite early on. So he's coming off a big injury there. So, and obviously now Eagles are signed to a 3-year deal. So it'll be interesting to see what he's about, because he was excellent a couple of years ago for them.
He was very good.
But yeah, I mean, are they as good as they were the year before, the couple of years before? No, because they've had a few retirements as well, and some guys have left. So I think
you got to count that too in their free agency. The guys leaving, yeah,
definitely, man. There's a lot of good guys who've retired as well, and Kelty's always a big loss. I mean, he's an excellent center. You know what I mean? And that tush push crap that they do was all set up via him, really. So if he's not there, now it'll be interesting to see who's going to be that center for them, but. Well, I think I'd give them a B rating really on their off season so far.
I like the Bryce Huff signing. I know we were kind of in competition for him. Mm-hmm. A signing that I'm kind of glad that they did, because the Devin White signing, he was not good at all this past couple of years in Tampa Bay, and he's a bad teammate. The players do not like playing with them whatsoever. They wanted him out of Tampa Bay. So yay! I know a lot of Eagles fans are happy with that signing, but you got to look what he was shit. He was really, really bad. But all in all, Philly has had a good offseason. Saquon, if he can stay healthy, that's going to hurt. And if they can fill the void of Jason Kelce leaving, That's a big one right there. You know, having Kelsey gone and having Fletcher Cox gone kind of takes their grade down a little bit. But all in all, I think they had a pretty very comparable to us off season. If you look at a lot of places grade, teams off season and we're at the top and Philly's, somewhere right behind us.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. I mean, I totally agree with the players they've got in. Obviously, the one bit that is a little bit bizarre for me as a signing is Kenny Pickett. I mean, I get the Will Greer signing. I understand that. But Kenny Pickett, you've made a mistake, my friend, because why are you not sitting behind a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who's getting paid absolute pittance by the team this year because he's still on massive money from the Broncos? He's likely to be doing 1 year. If you are that pissed off that you're not the starter anymore and you didn't have the chance to compete against Russell, go balls out in training camp and compete with Russell and see how you get on. You don't make it against Russell Wilson and they decide to go with Russ for the year, so be it. He's gone in that year. Now you've decided to go to Philadelphia, who you support, which I understand, to sit behind a quarterback who's 26 years old, who is constantly in the MVP caliber race every year. What are you doing? You either want to start in this league or you don't want to start in this league. I get it, it's your team, but
don't forget though, most of these guys don't have a choice. If the head coach comes in and goes, Kenny, you're going to Philly, pack your bags, you're done. I mean, there's only certain guys that have got no trade clauses. You can actually choose where they want to go. Most guys.
Yeah, he's still on his rookie deal. So.
I totally understand that, but if you're a backup and you accept that you're backup. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, hold on. I can hold the clipboard for a year and learn behind Russ, and then he goes.
Yeah, but if the coach gets here, you can't stay. You can't say I can't reject that trade. It just is done.
True.
That's it.
Yeah,
you've got no leverage. You got fuck all as that player getting traded.
You're off to the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, if they're going to give you a first rounder, okay, you're gone as well. To see what I mean?
I know what you're saying. But that is just a bizarre signing. Bizarre signing for me. Bizarre signing. Anyway, Giants. We'll move on to the Giants. So, what are your thoughts on the Giants, Jesse, and what they've done in the offseason?
I mean, I like Jalen Mills. And the Singletary signing was pretty good too. Other than that, nothing too flashy.
Brian Burns.
Yeah. The Burns thing.
Lot to give up,
he's good. But I think they paid him too much, man. He was barely double-digit sacks, and they paid him like an all-pro defensive end.
$150 million deal, 5 years. Yeah.
So it's a little rich for me. But I mean, he's a good player. He's a solid player, but he's never really given you that 15, 16 sack season.
My concern about this trade is you've got him on one end, and then you've got bloody Thibodeau on the other end. And
Thibodeau was only good when he played Leno.
We've got no tackles, so that's where I'm worried. I'm worried about. I can see why the Giants have gone down that route to try and get 2 elite edge rushers. And they've got 2 elite now, and we've got no tackles who can deal with these guys. So
we still got 1,900 picks in the first 100. we got. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix our ends. These
guys can't handle 1-on-1 with these boys, and then we're gonna be screwed, man. I tell you,
it was a second.
Wiley's gonna be all pro next year.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's it. See you later, Jesse. Thanks for being on. That you can leave now, man. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. I've never heard so much nonsense. That was 150. I know it's tongue in cheek. It's all good. That was $150 million, which is a lot to pay out, and a second rounder and a 5th rounder this year as well. So the draft capital's quite pricey as well.
They got him low. I mean, he could have got 2
Do you
first.
think so?
No.
A couple of years back. Yeah, a couple of years back.
At the start of the season, he could have got 2 first for him, and he said no. So actually, they got lowballed. So they messed themselves up, really, Carolina.
Oh, yeah, they did. Jesus Christ, what an idiot. I'm so glad Dan Snyder's gone. And the village idiot now is that man in Carolina.
David Tepper. Throwing drinks on Jacksonville fans and all sorts.
Oh, what a douche.
Honestly, he is just crazy. Well, the last team we'll move on to then is Dallas and what they've done in the offseason.
This is gonna be real quick.
It's a short list. Eric Kendricks, linebacker out of the Chargers on a 1-year
Old
deal.
dirt.
And that is it.
Yeah.
The other
Well,
two are
Jerry said, "Oh, we're all in this offseason. Bet your
He
bottom
did
dollar
indeed,
that
yeah.
way there, Bubba.
Yeah. All in where? All in what?
All in my ass." Didn't
he's- yeah.
who was that? Skip Bayless that tweeted that.
It was
Yeah,
indeed.
all
It
in my
was Skip,
ass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah, it's a joke. I mean, it's funny as hell. Finally, they're feeling the pain, of doing shitty contracts for guys and then letting them go.
Sap Calorie, yeah.
They've got no
Salary cap,
tackle. No, they let a lot of their guys left. We poached half of them. If you think about
Yeah.
it. And he lost the left tackle as well, and Tyron Smith. So they've got no left tackle. They've got Dak Prescott, who you can see doesn't want to be there anymore.
Nope.
And
he's a free agent next year.
He doesn't want to renegotiate his contract because why should he?
Oh, fuck off, Scott G.
Jesse's twin brother Skip Bayless. Yeah, exactly.
Skip had a
Yeah, I know
beard.
what you're
I
saying
think so,
there.
yeah. Pull it off.
Maybe you could pull it off, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. I'm loving what JJ's doing. Jerry Jones. Loving what he's doing over there. Yeah, carry on destroying your team, man. You going all
yeah.
Yeah,
Dak's contract situation is kind of getting messy now.
Yeah. He's a free agent
yeah,
next year.
Man, the fans are going.
Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, they keep saying that they want to sign him, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, not for the price that Dak Prescott wants as well.
I mean, Dak is going to be in 60 this year, I think, which is crazy money. But last year, his cap hit was 25. The year before, it was 17. The year before that, it was 16. So, there was a good cap hit.
These quarterback contracts are getting fucking outrageous. I
They
mean,
are ridiculous.
Like, is Kirk really worth that much? Is Dak really worth that much? I mean, what have they won to deserve a contract like
Would you
that?
say 12 and 5 seasons is that good enough? Do you think to pay a quarterback that?
Well, yeah, but he chokes in the playoffs.
Last 2 years, 12 and 5.
I mean,
Chokes in
they're
the
getting paid
playoffs.
for regular season wins, but what does that?
Oh, yeah,
what does that do for you?
in the playoffs. I get that, but I mean, it's not always just on him. But what I'm saying
No,
is
I
that
get
worth
that.
it? For that kind of corn, is it? Would you say, okay, I'd pay my quarterback $50 million a year or whatever if we get?
I don't know what the hell are we talking about. We would love a fucking 12-win goddamn season.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I've not seen it for a long time over here.
fucking pay half the salary cap. Give me a 12-win season, damn it.
Well, here's one for you that I threw out there and I was laughing at just as a bit of tongue in cheek again was, would you offer the number 2 overall pick plus maybe even a first next year to the Los Angeles Chargers for Justin Herbert in exchange for them picks so he can go and take his man JJ McCarthy? Thanks very much.
So who
would you take Herbert?
So you're saying 2 first rounders for
Yeah.
Herbert?
For Herbert,
Yeah.
Would you give him
Yeah.
the 2 overall
pick?
Yeah, absolutely. In a second.
In a
Without
heartbeat,
thinking.
I would too.
Yeah.
This year's first
absolutely.
and next year's first. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Straight in. I just put it out there. I'm not saying it's happening, but it would be.
I mean,
take
they're in a
that.
position if they wanted to draft JJ, they could easily do it.
Yeah,
I mean, worst comes to worst, they'd have to move up to probably 4, move up one spot. Or they drafted, or are they drafting 6? Are they at 6?
No, I think it's the Giants at 6. I think they're at 5. I think. Yeah.
Number 5. Yeah, I mean, they might have to move up with Arizona. So the Giants. It depends on what the Patriots are doing. They're kind of being cheeky too, and not really.
That kind of ruins it.
Well, I mean,
Cheers,
Scott, Justin can void that no trade clause. If he wants to, goes to a place that he wants. If he want to come out, anyway, it's not going to happen. So it's.
I mean, Harbaugh's licking JJ's ass so much.
He is ridiculous.
He must have a sweet ass.
It's like, come on, then. You show us your balls, then, bro. You keep licking the guy's ass that much. Okay, then we'll let's say just trade Justin there, but then go on, and then pick up.
So getting back to ranking these teams then from the NFC East. I'm going to go Philly first, Commanders second, Giants third, Cowboys fourth. That's mine.
Well, Cowboys
I
wouldn't
think
even be ranked. To be fair, I mean
No,
that's how bad it is.
unranked. What are you
See,
saying? Scout?
when I'm thinking about the rankings, I'm thinking about who did the most to help the team, their
Okay.
respective teams
Then it
out.
would be us.
And I think we did. I think we filled a lot of holes with solid players. I mean, did we go after A+ players? No. I mean, the Phillies really didn't either. They lost 2 elite players, in my opinion, and Fletcher Cox and Kelsey. I mean, they gained Bryce Huff. But is he an elite defensive end? No, he was a part-time pass rusher. We gained more starters than anybody else. So
it was probably the weather, to be honest. Scott went to LA.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, you'll be on the East Coast either.
Californians aren't the Harbors.
They are California.
I mean, Jim going to LA. Yeah, Justin definitely had a lot to do with it. You go into a spot where you already have an established franchise quarterback. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Scouts, what's your final rankings then for the NFC East off-season teams?
Exactly what you said. Well, I wouldn't even rank Dallas in anything because
fair enough.
They've done nothing. I mean, they've done virtually zero. They've let half the team go and done nothing with it. As in, like, they've not bought anybody. They're waiting for the draft. But these guys are going to mess up in the draft because they don't draft very well, if you think about it. Besides the elite guys, like the first rounders, they don't really do well with their drafts. So, bye. I can't wait to see them be so horrible next year. It's going to be ace.
Well, we'll finish off with this question then. This question comes from our special guest on this week's pod, Jesse Martin. He said, what will Scouts do if the Commanders select JJ at 2? A, become a Cowboys fan. B, boycott the season. C, call him a bum after every incomplete pass. Or D, all of the above.
D.
Well, let's be honest. He's not becoming. Yeah, let's answer that. He's not being a Cowboys fan, that's for sure. That's definitely not going to happen. But I think C is probably the right answer. He's a bum. He's a bum. What are you saying, Scouts? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, out of those options, I'd be picking C myself.
Yeah, I think so.
There's no chance in hell. I'd rather just shoot me now if you're going to try and make me a Dallas fan. You know what I mean? So forget about that. And I'm never going to boycott a season. I mean, I will eventually try and get my head around it. But if initially we get him, I'll lose my shit, and then I'll probably have to, get my head around it, and then over the next few months, try and support the guy. But
Scouts has got to come on our live stream during the draft.
Yeah, man. I mean, if we get that, mate, game over. I mean, I'll be raging.
He's gonna tip over his arcade game behind him and start throwing shit around. It's gonna be great.
Well, I'll be fuming.
I'll be
fuming. 100%. So yeah, don't. So if anyone's listening out there from the Commanders land, don't pick JJ at 2. And you want to see me kick off. So that'd be great.
So shout out to everyone in the chat. We're going to finish it off here. So Brian, it's always 33. Thanks for being with us. Scott G, thanks for being with us. Rod in the chat, thanks for being with us. I've also had Deluxe up in the chat here as well. We had John Taman for a little bit as well. So yeah, thank you all for being with us. We really appreciate you hopping on the stream and watching us live. Freddie also in the chat as well. Thank you for being with us. Burrows as well. Thanks for being on. And everyone else on who's in the chat. We appreciate you all being in there. Your bro as well, Ian Lockhart. Can't
that was talking about
him as well.
I think they talked about it too much, but that was about Jaden Daniels. He's another two.
It was around Jaden Daniels.
Who knows?
But yeah, man, we appreciate everyone listening, everyone watching. Keep downloading the pod. You can find all our socials on the link tree on mine. I am Scotty H84. Scouse is at Scouse20. Jesse, do you want to promote your? Yeah, thank you, mate. Do you want to promote your show and where we can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Jesse's24. I'm about to change it to at from under my nuts. And you catch us on right now. We're just doing once a week on Fridays. I guess when on the Bleeding Burgundy. Catch us on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms. And Scotty joins the show with us every week and with John Taman, and come have a laugh with us.
Yeah, It is a funny scheduled show. If you want to watch pictures of me in a car rolling around, yeah, it's brilliant. It is worth going. And sometimes we get Jerry Jones coming on as well. So no, it's all good. And last thing before we before we go, just shout out to Manscaped as well. Manscaped.com. Go to Manscaped.com, buy your products on there. And if you put in our referral code, which is OPSS, you'll get free shipping and 20% off, and also get 4 months on their delivery products. So, yeah, that's us, everyone. Thanks very much for being with us. And we will be on the same time next week.